Welcome to the Virtual Ball Boys podcast. My name is Chris, and I am joined once again by my good friend, Matt.
Chris, I need you to name me a number between 1 and 1,000.
Okay, 563.
All right, I'm going to roll a D1000. If the number is 563, the podcast is ending. Okay. Like we are stopping the recording right here.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
Here we go.
Dice parser? Hello? Nope. Not in that server.
It just crashed.
Oh, there's new bot commands on Discord. I forgot.
Oh, okay. So yeah, I don't know how that whole situation works.
This was supposed to be
instant,
an easy,
instant satisfaction. Hey.
589.
Wow.
So close.
Wow.
But it wasn't the number. That is the likelihood of me not rolling that number was the Browns winning percentage. Sorry, the Starfish winning percentage.
There you go.
At one point on Sunday.
Yeah, it was basically it was very, very close. I'm trying to do the math in my head. It was 26 numbers, and that's as close as I was how close the Browns were to winning.
Yep.
And they blew it, or the Starfish blew it.
Yep.
So that's just how these things happen. Welcome everyone. It
just started downpouring for no reason.
Oh no.
This was not in any weather report.
Yeah. That's you know what? That's just God pissing, and we just have to just accept it sometimes.
Sure. Let's go with that.
You know, and sometimes he has to leak. You know, you can't
This is a strong stream, Chris.
Sorry, she's pissing. That's what it is. Just making, because I remember that the God's a female.
God is a woman, yeah.
God's a woman. Anyways, welcome everyone.
Ariana Grande kind of sucks though.
She does. I actually, to be honest, did not realize that was a Grande reference.
I think it's a song.
Yeah, I had no idea. But anyways, welcome. This is week 3 of content. Things are just a wee bit weird, so I apologize if my energy is just not completely there. But we're gonna power through. We're gonna talk about week 2, which had a whole lot of chaos. And so far this season, chaos has been plentiful. It's been
chaos
very,
is
very
the
good.
norm.
Yeah. And usually week 3 is the week I'm kind of like most look forward to, because like, all right, this is when we, this is when we divide the really great teams to the really bad teams and all that kind of stuff. But like, I don't know, maybe compared to the first 2 weeks, week 3 is probably gonna be boring, and it might. Who knows? But for now, let's recap week 2 with our 3 games that we want to highlight, starting with our game of the week. And we can't not talk about Dolphins at Ravens. And I gotta tell you, I thought this was gonna be in the blowout conversation, because it was, I believe, at one point.
It was
I was it like a 35-14 like
something like that
score at some point. Dolphins were down big, but then Tua and the Tua fans used their powers together to have Tua throw 6 touchdowns. 6 touchdowns in a game.
Guess who had the Ravens defense and opponent had Jalen Waddle in the same game.
That is
wee
not ideal. Not ideal. But Dolphins ended up coming back big and winning this game, even though Lamar Jackson was really the story for a good chunk of this, because he was having an absolutely fantastic game, and so far has been having a fantastic season through 2 weeks. But his team, especially on the defensive side, fell apart, could not get the job done, and the Miami Dolphins are 2-0. Matt, what just what is your reaction to all of this?
I think that Miami is an excellent team. I'm very glad that Tua specifically is their quarterback, staring daggers. And yeah, I think that my this is what you wanted to see from Miami, right? Past couple seasons, and especially with Tyreek Hill coming over, this was great.
Yeah,
great trade for Tyreek. Going well for him. Going well for the Dolphins. This is what you wanted to see, and you're seeing it. So that's always a good sign.
Yeah, I mean, this is what one of the reasons why the whole wide receiver market was the way it was, because this is more a passing league than it's ever been, and having these weapons, having a lot of speedy receivers that you can throw to, that's going to win you football games, and this is one of the scenarios. And obviously, like, I don't want to take anything away from Tua, because clearly he showed on Sunday that he can compete in these big moments. But you also have to give credit to Mike McDaniel and what he's been able to do through 2 weeks, and to have a good offensive plan. And the Dolphins defense was really having a rough go of it, but generally they have a lot of talent on that side too. And so this is a team that, like, I don't know if either of us had the Dolphins in the playoff picture, but I think both of us kind of thought that there would be some sort of improvement in this team. Yeah. And so here's hoping that that's going to be something that's consistent. They do have the Bills later this week in week 3, so we'll see how they hold up against a juggernaut. Speaking of, the blowout of the week is Titans at Bills. 41-7 was your final score, and by the way, that was the score in the third quarter.
Yep.
And basically, the Titans decided to bench Tannehill. Not to say, like, hey, we're going to give Malik Willis a try. It was more of, hey, we're not winning this game. In the third quarter.
The third quarter.
God, what is happening, Matt? Is it has to...
I was kind of seeing this for the Titans this season. I did not think the Titans were going to be super strong, and they didn't change much from last year to this year, except for losing AJ Brown. Like, they're mostly the same team, but I don't know. I just like this downfall just seemed like it was coming to them. And obviously, we'll talk about this a lot, I'm sure, on the Buffalo side. They're fucking bananas at every aspect of the game.
Yeah.
They're a really good football team. So, like, it's hard to write off Tennessee right away just because, like, because losing to the Bills is, like, most teams are going to lose to the Bills.
Right.
But then you lost to the Giants, and the Giants seem to be pretty good, but they're still the Giants.
Yeah, I mean, like
it's the red flags in Tennessee right now. I think Malik Willis will be the starting quarterback for this team by the end of the season.
Yeah, I mean, that's why I had him as my rookie of the year. Just in case. No, but that was just more tongue in cheek. But now it's becoming a little bit more of a reality that maybe this team is not going to be able to kind of keep to the same plan that they have been going with. And obviously losing AJ Brown is a big part of the reason why things are not working out. Because I mean, the comparison between Stephon Diggs last night completely outplaying all of the wide receivers combined was it's just kind of alarming in that sense. It is going to be interesting. I think the Titans are good. I think that they've just had this really weird start to the season overall. They've had this in the past, like obviously last season with how the Cardinals just completely blew them out of the water in week 1. And so I don't think it's impossible for them to course correct, but it definitely is showing that maybe things are going to get away from them, especially with how much more talented a lot of the teams around them in the conference are going to be. And like you said, with the Bills, they're just proving that they're going to be almost impossible to stop at this point. The original blowout of the week I just want to shout out was the Jaguars over the Colts.
Yeah, I called you insane for maybe not insane, but I called you like I did not see a world where Jacksonville won the division, I am backpedaling hard on that.
It's well, I mean, it's definitely we have a long way to go, but
Yeah.
the fact that they are the only team with a win this season in the AFC South is wild.
That even like shows signs of life.
100%.
Like, it's not even like if the Jaguars were also 0-2, but at least like were competitive in the games that they played, I would still feel that way about Jacksonville. I don't feel good about any other AFC South team other than Jacksonville, which is wild.
Yeah, my logic has been like I don't think that Trevor Lawrence has really made a leap, but I feel like that defense was always going to be a little bit slept on just because it's Jacksonville. No one really wanted to talk about them, but like there's some nice talent on this team, and I think that they're going to start to show like, hey, they're not going to be like this easy out that they have been. I would love to see them win the AFC South at the BB, right? But like I'm anything can happen where the Colts bounce back or the Titans bounce back or the Texans stop somehow being the Texans. Like, things could happen, but it is looking good thus far. Now, I'll take credit on that front. The chaos of the week. This one was also tough because there was just so much chaos. But I have to shout out the New York Jets, who just ripped victory from the jaws of defeat in a way that we just don't really see very often. They were down multiple scores, I think, after the 2-minute warning, and then all of a sudden just came roaring back in a way that included an onside kick that was actually successful, which we don't really see as much anymore. And they won by a single point, and it's also partly because it's just good to see the Starfish lose a game. There's a satisfaction to that at this point.
Guess who played the Starfish defense?
Oh boy.
It was a rough fantasy weekend. I still won 2 out of my 3 leagues, but it did not feel that way.
Yeah. It's just that's just the dangers of it, right? Because you go in and you're like, all right, there's no way that the Jets are gonna pop off. There's no way that Jalen Waddle is gonna have a good time, or that the Ravens defense is gonna stop the Dolphins. There's no way. And there's a way. There's a way. Unfortunately, that's just the nature of the beast when it comes to the sport. But yeah, shout out to the Jets. They actually did something for once, and it's nice to see, especially early on, because they've been winless in September for a long time. So this was a necessary win to kind of at least inject a little bit of hope into this franchise for a little bit of time, at least. Well, there you go. Any specific games, or you want to just get any specific games that you wanted to touch on, or do you want to just jump into the mid-sec here?
Let me look through, see what I can find.
Sure.
Chiefs Chargers was the most normal final score I've ever seen.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, that game was, I felt, disappointing in many ways.
I am fucking right about the Falcons being competitive.
You are right. You're absolutely right. Holy, yeah. That was a fascinating one.
Yeah.
A very weird game, and that should not have ended as close as it did. I will say with the Chargers Chiefs, just going back to that real quick, that ended with the Justin Herbert injury, which was scary. But then he comes back, and at first he looks really bad, and you're like, what are we doing? Get him out. And then he throws this beautiful ball for that. I don't know if it was for a touchdown, but it got them down to the line, and it was just like, man, that reminded me so much of what everyone always shows, the Matthew Stafford highlights back in that one Browns game. I want to say in the early 2010s or something.
Essentially, no one knows what's going on.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Yeah. It was definitely. It was definitely a very strange finish for the Chargers there, but hopefully he's okay. They had a little bit of extra time to get him ready. Yeah, good stuff.
And then Jalen Hurts MVP.
That's right. Yeah, he had a great game as well, and I don't know why either of us picked Kirk Cousins in Monday night.
Right? Yeah, we forgot about that.
Yeah.
That's like the deal. That's his whole deal.
Well, you're kind of hoping that, like, all right, well, he has this offensive mind that's going to be guiding him. Maybe that things change for a better. No,
Nope. You're on.
No, it didn't work out. And one last thing, God, Trey Lance is having a rough go of it.
I feel so bad for Trey Lance, dude.
Out for the year with a broken ankle.
We clown on the 49ers a bit, and now it makes sense. But it's almost like it was consequently put out into the world when Garoppolo was signed like that. That something would happen to Lance, and then something happened.
Right. That's at the end of the day, it does turn out to be like a situation where like the 49ers ended up handling it the best way that they could in that sense, but it just feels so weird, and you do feel for him, and I do think though that it's a good thing that they have Jimmy G, and it's a good thing that he is so loved in that building and loved by his teammates that you're going to get Jimmy G production, and maybe that's going to be just the downside of it, but you also don't really know what you had in Trey Lance either, so it's like, and it sucks that you're going to have to wait yet another year to really know for sure, but for at least for the now, you kind of know who Jimmy G is, and you could try to work around that and figure it out, so it's a disaster for the 49ers in terms of that whole draft, in terms of drafting Trey Lance and trying to figure out who he can be, and obviously you feel bad for Trey Lance himself and just with the injury, but they will Jimmy G some more here. All right, let's get to our mid-sec here. I like the records after the first 2 weeks. Obviously, they don't really mean anything much long term. So it's kind of interesting to look at them, look at where these teams are standing, and be like, all right, like, how legit is this? And so for all these 1-1 teams, you're boring. Get out of here. We're not going to talk about you because you won one, you lost one. We have no idea what the fuck you are ultimately. We're going to talk about the teams that currently stand undefeated and the ones who stand winless. And we're going to look at these zeros on these records and look at the shelf life of these zeros. So I'm calling the segment Zero Shelf Life, where we are just going to look at these teams and be like, how long do we think that this is going to last for them? I want to start positive. I want to start, or maybe, I don't know, I guess it depends on how you view it. I want to say we start positive by going to the teams that are currently undefeated, but it would be negative to say when we think they're going to lose their game. But, Matt, between everyone who is sitting 2-0, I think I know your answer, but we'll just ask anyway. Who do you think is most likely going to keep going and not lose a game for a long while?
Bills.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, kind of. It's hard to say otherwise.
The list for those wondering and they don't have it in front of them, currently the undefeated teams are the Dolphins, Eagles, Chiefs, Bucks, Bills, and Giants. And so yeah, I'm with you. I think the Bills are right there. I think the Chiefs probably could go a distance here, but here's the thing though. And I'm looking at the schedule. The Bills and Chiefs are going to play in a couple of weeks.
Yes.
And so they're playing on October 16th. So I don't know. That whole thing, that like obviously one of them is probably going to lose or they'll tie, who knows, but just pretending that the only tie this season is going to be Colts Texans, I think that right now with the way that both of these teams are playing, I see the Bills steamrolling a little bit more than the Chiefs, and so maybe the Bills win that game against the Kansas City, but at the same time, who freaking knows? It could be anything. Also, the Bucks and the Eagles, like, I would say that those two, those two teams are kind of showing, like, all right, these are going to be tough outs. I think when we're going to talk about teams that are on the verge of losing, it's going to be between the Dolphins and the Giants here. Because... Yeah. What about you in terms of like who do you between these two teams, and maybe if you want to throw in the Bucks or Eagles, who do you think's most likely to lose next?
I think just because they're facing the Bills, it's the Dolphins.
Mm.
If it was if it was Dolphins Commanders, or if it was Dolphins Vikings, or if it was Dolphins even Dolphins Rams or something like that, like I would feel very strongly in the Dolphins. But like Dolphins Bills is such like it's a really good matchup this week. I hope I get it. I probably won't.
No, yeah, it's not the. It's weird. They plan out their broadcasting assignments through the first 3 weeks, and it's just like, man, that's a missed opportunity to not do like have that be the marquee game. But it might. Who knows?
Yeah.
I think I'm with you. I think the Dolphins are probably going to lose this week, but I look at the Giants and I'm like, this is one of these things are not like the other right now in terms of the rest of this look.
I mean the first place New York Giants.
The first place New York Giants. Well,
New York Football Giants.
It's between them and the Eagles. I think the Eagles might have.
You're tied. You are tied.
Yeah.
You can count it.
All right, fine. I'll have some optimism, I guess. Look, it hasn't looked pretty, but through 2 weeks they are 2-0, and that's for the first time since 2016. And then if they do win against the Cowboys on Monday night, which is not a far stretch, that would mean that's their first 3-0 start since 2009.
Yeah.
Granted, that season they ended up going 8-8, so it wasn't like that great of a run. But I don't know, man. I just think that right now this is the most imperfect team that's 2-0 that I don't see. I see too many flaws for them that they're going to continue to be like winning consistently for a long period of time, but. I mean, they're competitive, and I think that goes a
long way.
It goes a long way, right? And it's going to be one of those things where you are going to jump into a game, and maybe you're going to probably end up losing it. But hey, if you stay in it and you keep things exciting, that is a lot more of a development than we maybe thought going into this season. Where even though I did have maybe like a little bit of like, oh, maybe this could happen, I mostly thought the Giants could be a number 1 overall pick type team again, and I would not be super surprised. And so this is not a bad start. But I think I would lean towards them losing first, but also Dolphins are probably going to lose this week as well. All right, now to give some hope. Now to try to inject some hope into the franchises that have had some really rough goes of it thus far. So far, the winless teams on the schedule include the Las Vegas Raiders, Atlanta Falcons, Carolina Panthers, Cincinnati Bengals, Tennessee Titans, Indianapolis Colts, and the Houston Texans. Matt, who do you think is out of this group most likely to get out of this funk first?
I would say it's between the Raiders, because they almost won. I'm scared to say the Bengals, which is sad.
Yeah.
But probably the Raiders or the Bengals.
Yeah, it's definitely... I mean, looking at the group right now...
Either the Raiders or Titans will get out of it, unless they tie again.
Right. Yeah, like, I mean, they're facing each other. I think that's the only like winless matchup this week.
Yeah.
I definitely it definitely will be interesting that I think those two like I have like a pretty close to equal shot of making it through to next week. Bengals, I would think that they would do it. The Jets, love that the Jets did what they did against the Starfish. I just think that the Bengals have had just the rough go of it, having faced 2 really good defense and then having their offensive line just not be prepared for it. I think this is an easier defensive line to go up against for the Bengals. We'll get to our picks, but obviously I'm saying that like that there is room here for I think the Bengals to maybe have a bounce back here. And look at the Falcons too, like they have been competitive and it's been against teams that at least supposedly I went in thinking that would be among the playoff contenders like the Saints and then the Rams last week. I mean, they're facing the Seahawks this week. I mean, there's an opportunity here for them to break through here.
Yep.
And then between the Texans, Colts, and then Panthers, man, who do you think is going to be the Lions of this year, where it just takes forever for them to get out of the funk that they're in?
Absolutely the Panthers.
Oh, really? I would have gone Texans personally. But give me your reasons for the Panthers.
So the Panthers have had like 2 close games. They're probably fine, but I just feel this sense of dread right now with the Panthers, where I feel like they're gonna lose by a field goal in every game they play.
It definitely feels like that, and it's weird because you do feel like this team has talent that they could break through it, at some point. But yeah, it's been a rough go, and I think that it just feels like this team's the candidate to have their coach get fired, and then the next week they bounce back and win. Like that this is that team this year. But I get what you're saying. I think that's probably likely. I look at the Texans, and I feel like they are just so bad. Like, through 2 weeks, it just, like, they've been in games for both of those games, but, like, I just feel like coaching has just been weird. Their offense is not doing that much anymore. Defense is fine, but it's just nothing really just feels like it's gonna work. I know the Colts are the ones that got shut out by the Jaguars, but at least with them, they've been having some injury issues, and maybe that will get them back to not, being pathetic at the current state. There's nothing that I feel like can change that's gonna make the Texans not pathetic. They do have the Bears this week, and if they lose that game, then then you're in a real shithole at this point.
And that's how I feel about the Bears too.
Yeah.
Other way around.
Yeah.
And the Bears have a win, but
no, that's the thing. You're 1000% right, and I'm excited to pick that game too. I think that there's a lot of factors here. When it comes to both of those teams, but yeah, the Texans, I'm just really not high on at all, and I really thought that they could have been a frisky team. I was thinking that this could have been and it still could. It's only week 3, but I really thought like we could get like the reverse AFC South standings of last year, and you get Texans in like second place and competing closely with the Jags. It's so far Texans are not impressing. But there you go. So we talked a little bit about all these teams, about how we feel about them. Everyone else, like I said, 1-1. You're not interesting to me. All right, you won a game and you lost a game. All right, you're not doing anything special yet. In either direction, a good special or bad special.
Yep.
But we're gonna jump into picking our week 3 games. But before we do that, let me tell you about our sponsors. Hi everyone, it's Chris, and I'm back once again to tell you all about Anchor. Anchor by Spotify has actually been the tool of choice for Team Chaos Productions since the moment we decided to get into podcasting. And the biggest reason for this is it's the easiest way to make a podcast with everything you need all in one place. Anchor has tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your computer or even your phone. When hosting on Anchor, you can distribute your podcast on listening platforms like Spotify, but also Apple Podcasts and many more. And best of all, Anchor is free. You do not need to worry about any features being locked out to you. You can get it all if you just download the Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. It's everything you need to make a podcast in one place. Happy podcasting.
Sick of talking about video games with people who just want to be toxic? Me too. So join us over at the Gaming Coop. We come together each month to talk about what we love about video games. Discussion topics range from our favorite soundtracks to the best relationships between characters. We also have some fun segments in which we play some trivia or build our school of gaming. Find us on Anchor or wherever you listen to your podcasts. Game on!
And we're back. All right. To recap our picks from last week, I went 9-7. Did not get my guarantee, but I got my Team Chaos.
Hey.
That is the only Team Chaos gotten this season by any of us.
Hey, that's 1 of 4. That's fine. It's fine.
Yeah.
We're okay so far.
And Matt, you did not get your guarantee or your Chaos.
Haven't gotten a guarantee yet this season.
No
but
guarantees across the board.
No guarantees for me.
Well, not same here. So
cool.
Guarantees have just been bad for us.
Yeah, we're bad at this.
But we'll get back into it. So right now where the overall standings sit, we both sit at a 17-14 record, but I have just a slight edge with 2 points. You have 1 point through 2 weeks, and that is legitimately because of the Team Chaos. That is the only reason that edge is there. So thank you, Jaguars. But anyways, let's jump in to week 3, and we'll start with the Steelers at the Starfish, an AFC North rivalry. Steelers, of course, coming off of their loss against the Patriots. Starfish just fucking blew it against the Jets. You guys have egg on your face. It's so funny. Matt, what do you think's going to happen here?
This is one of the hardest games to predict for me, I think. Even though they blew it, I think I'm going to go with the Starfish for this one. I didn't like the Steelers against the Patriots, who were a really bad team, and I think Cleveland will be able to do enough. Without TJ Watt, I think that Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt are just going to run all over this team. By the way, I've been starting to do some daily fantasy just because I had some money in an app, and I'm just like doing like $4 or $5 shit.
Sure.
And I was just out of curiosity looking for this lineup, and I hate every player in this game that I could like put on my roster, other than Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt. So I mean, I'm picking the Starfish, but I'm not like happy about this game. I'm not going to enjoy watching this game.
Yeah, thank God I'm gonna be like away in a cabin.
Yeah, thank God.
In the middle of nowhere for this. I will not have to really pay attention to this. So actually, it's really funny. We were talking earlier in this before we started recording about the Team Chaoses this week suck. They suck. All the options fucking suck. I'm looking at this spread of 4.5. The Browns are 4.5 favorites against the Steelers. I don't understand that, and I think just purely out of spite, I'm Team Chaosing the Steelers in this scenario.
Sure.
I'm with you. I feel like the Browns are a little bit better on offense than we give them credit for, or the Starfish, excuse me. And like I think they have the defensive players to compete. I'm in no way doubting that. I just am at the point where I look at the Steelers and I think that was just a weird game. They're trying to figure things out. It's something about I guess what could happen in this game is that Mitch Trubisky just has fucking flat lines, and then we finally get Kenny Pickett in beginning of the following week. Or the other thing that could happen is that Trubisky does so bad that they put Kenny Pickett in this game, and then he leads a game-winning touchdown drive. I am not liking the offensive play calling on the Steelers. I feel like Matt Canada is just doing a really bad job thus far, because they do have the weapons, they do have the talent to really compete here. I guess just I'm going to continue to have my faith in the Steelers defense, and I'm going to have faith in the players that are on that offensive side that maybe that they break through. So that's why I'm going to do Team Chaos. And it is purely because I hate all the other Chaos options for this week. So there you go.
Cool. All right, next up, game of the week of the century, Houston Texans versus the Chicago Bears. Fucking hell.
Yeah, it's
Lovey, decade-old Lovey Smith revenge game.
Sure. 100%. That's what's on everyone's mind.
The Bears don't pass. I don't know what the Texans can do. Who's gonna win the game, Chris?
The Bears, rough game against the Packers, no doubt. But I think that there are some gems here. You were talking about this during the preseason. But like the David Montgomery and Khalil Herbert, they're excellent. They're running the ball. I really like what I've seen from them. Justin Fields, even though they definitely did not pass a lot in that game, there's still these moments where you're like, there's something special that Fields has that you're kind of like, that's just waiting to break out. And I really like this defense for the Bears. They're not great again, but like, there's just something that about them that still has that like that feistiness from their 2018 run. I like this game so much for the Bears that I am guaranteeing that the Bears win this game.
My God. Oh, that is
1-2 punch out of the gate, baby.
Yeah,
Team
really.
Chaos
Holy
guaranteed.
shit. I'm picking the Bears too, but like, God, I want the Bears to do so good, and I feel like it's all there, but it's just like the last night watching the Bears Packers game. Brutal. There were two takeaways. Yeah. The first was I don't care what the game result is. Watching Rodgers get sacked this much is therapeutic.
Right.
The second one is this is every Bears game I've watched since I've been interested in football, where they just don't do anything on offense. They don't change shit. Coaches don't matter.
Yeah.
And it was so frustrating. And I hate watching Bears Packers games. They're the fucking worst.
They really force those.
They really force them in prime time, and like I get it, and the streak should be kept alive because it's the oldest rivalry in the NFL, unlike the NFC East bullshit. And like I will sacrifice one Sunday night football game to it. But oh my God,
it's torture. It's
torture. I if the Bears don't beat the Texans, I'm going to be tortured.
I guess for me, I'm just looking at it. I'm looking at the Bears from a positive point of view, where through 2 weeks, it could be worse. Like
1,000,000%.
I really was thinking coming in that the Bears were going to be the worst team in the NFL. I don't think that they are at this point, and I think that there is some signs of life there where I'm like, I feel I have more faith in the Bears right now than the Texans. And fuck it, guarantee it. To have some fun, sprinkle in some fun there. Next up, the Raiders at the Titans. We're just talking about this game. This is the only winless matchup this week. Raiders, and both of these teams obviously were kind of coming into this season with playoff aspirations, so to get off to the start that they are, not super great. What do you think is going to happen here?
I think the Raiders will still get it done. I still like their offense. They should have played a little better defensively against the Cardinals for sure. But I think they'll be able to beat the Titans here.
Yeah, I'm gonna be the opposite here. I'm picking the Titans. I think it just comes down to where I'm not loving the Raiders right now, only because it seems like they have one thing that's working for them, and it's a great thing in terms of Derek Carr and Adams, but I feel like everything else is just not quite clicking yet, and I feel like Mike Vrabel is the kind of coach who has done a really good job with this team over time, and this is still the same, like you mentioned earlier, this is the same Titans team that we've had, like, at least for the last few years, and I feel like they have to look at this 0-2 hole and be able to bounce back, and I just feel like I trust Mike Vrabel to do that against the Raiders defense, especially, that has not really shown much yet. So I'm going Titans purely because of that. It's a tight game though.
All right. Next up, we don't have to talk about this one. Kansas City Chiefs versus the Colts. Holy God, poor horses.
Yeah,
These poor Colts.
This was one of those games I kept on looking at, like, should I chaos? Do I chaos? That's how desperate this has been. I'm going Chiefs though.
I don't see any life from the Colts right now. I have to pick the Chiefs.
Yeah, I mean, if there's any consolation for the Colts, maybe you get Michael Pittman back. We're recording this earlier in the week, so practices haven't really started yet. So it's we're kind of going off of the information that we know. Michael Pittman, they're saying that they're hoping he's going to be back this week. Shaquille Leonard, for some reason, still is not back, but he should. I think that he has been practicing a little bit more, so he should be back at some point. So you're gonna get these pieces back. That's no excuse for going 24-0 against the Jags, but hey, it's something. Gotta hold on to anything at this point.
Yep.
Next up, the Bills at the Dolphins, the game of the week that's going to be buried on a 1 o'clock CBS slot, unfortunately. The Bills, of course, the most dominant team in football, There's really no question about that. Whereas the Dolphins are maybe the most frisky, being at 2-0, having the offense that they've had. What do you think is going to happen here?
Until they prove otherwise, I'm not picking against the Bills. You saw what they did to the Rams. You saw what they did to the Titans. The Dolphins are a very good team this year, and I do really believe in them. But the Bills are both an unstoppable force and an immovable object. I shouldn't be this risky with my guarantees, considering I haven't gotten one right yet, but I'm guaranteeing the Bills.
I love it. That's awesome. I like playing it risky. That's why I pick the Bears to guarantee. I'm going with the Bills too. I really would love to see though. Would I be mad if the Dolphins win this game though? Absolutely not. And I would not be unless something knock on wood, something crazy happens. I would still have faith in the Bills if they lose this game. It would just be fun to have this Bills Dolphins rivalry just kind of bud, because this is also my favorite uniform matchup of the entire league. Yes. I absolutely love the dark blue on light blue action there.
All right, the Detroit Lions take on the Minnesota Vikings. Both teams 1-1.
Yes.
Both teams with a dominant offensive performance, except for the Vikings in week 2. But week 1. But they're not in prime time anymore. Not in prime time. Will the Vikings take down the Lions?
I'm going to look at the fact that, hey, look, the sun's up. Okay, Kirk Cousins is going to have a good day. I'm picking the Vikings in this one.
Okay. I mean, it makes sense. I'm getting risky with my chaoses, too. I'm going to pick the Lions. I really like what the Lions have been seeing. Really, shocking me with what they've been seeing. Amon-Ra St. Brown and DeAndre Swift are fucking insane football players.
100%.
I fucking love it. I think the Vikings definitely will bounce back from last week against the Eagles. However, I needed to chaos somewhere, so I'm going to chaos the Lions.
I love this one. And I was thinking about it. I think I'm getting a little hung up on the home game thing again, where I'm just I hate picking more road teams winning.
Oh my god, Chris!
I did, because look at last week. There is only 4 road wins. It's just, I know. This is just something that I have in the back of my mind that I think about, and I did think about picking the Lions here, but I think the Vikings just ran into an Eagles team that we just underestimated being so good so early. I think that they bounce back here. Because also, the one thing I will say, I love the Lions. Their defense is not good. Aiden Hutchinson is their only highlight right now.
No. Yeah, I agree with that.
Next up, the Ravens.
Your turn.
At the Ravens, at the New England Patriots. This is, of course, Patriots are coming off of the nice win over the Steelers. Ravens blew it against the Dolphins. What do you think's going to happen here?
The Patriots do not have the ability to play offense like the Dolphins do. I'm picking the Ravens.
Yeah, this is I think an easy pick for me too. I'm going Ravens because I think it's nice that the Patriots are won and their run game is looking good. I'm not going to take that away from them, but it's still Nelson Aguilar had to moss a guy to get a touchdown.
Yes,
So it's just this is just I don't think it's going to be this year for the Patriots. I think the Ravens are too good still. So go Ravens.
All right. Next up, the Cincinnati Bengals 0-2 take on the New York Jets 1-1. The Bengals have been struggling. Had a nice comeback against the Steelers, but kind of fell apart against the Cooper Rush-led Cowboys. I am not sure what to do with the Bengals right now. What do you think is going to happen with this game?
I really this was another one that I was like, maybe I could team chaos this, but I just feel like the Bengals had 2 really difficult defenses that they played in the Steelers and the Cowboys, and I know that the way that the offenses have been, their defense hasn't been terrible this year. It's really been their offensive line that has been the biggest issue, and I feel like you're now going up against a Jets squad that had its moment last week, but I don't see them as this defensive juggernaut by any means, and I think that you could get by winning this game. It could get close, but I'm gonna pick the Bengals here.
I'm also going to pick the Bengals, but I do want to point out that Joe Burrow led the league in sacks last year.
Yeah.
And he in 50 something sacks.
Yeah.
And he's on pace for over 100.
Yeah, not great. But,
no, not the best.
But I will say, but just to counter that, I you have to remember the defenses that they played against.
True.
Now.
Two really
good defensive lines.
To also counter back, Joe Flacco MVP.
That's true. That is, you know what, Joe Flacco. Maybe we're in a Flacco-sance. You know, maybe that's coming. Was not expecting that. Next up, the Philadelphia Eagles at the Washington Commanders. The commies, as they say.
The commies or the Manders.
Or the Mandalorians.
Mandalorians. Salamanders.
So the Commanders, they had the nice win over the Jags, and then they just fucking blew it against the Lions despite trying to come back near the end. The Eagles, of course, they played it close to the Lions, but then dominated the Vikings. What do you think's going to happen here?
Yes, the two most exciting quarterbacks of the season, Joe Flacco and Carson Wentz. Talked about it back-to-back games.
Truly.
This should not be I don't think this is going to be a blowout for the Eagles and Commanders. I am very confident in the Eagles, and I'm picking the Eagles because I think that they're a fantastic team and are going to be the runner-ups of the Super Bowl. But Washington should not be counted out. I am picking the Eagles, though.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think it will be a tight division rivalry game, but I think the Eagles are just too good right now. They're just playing well on both sides, and it's just it feels like a new team right now.
AJ Brown does some magic. Maybe AJ Brown's the special sauce. All right, New Orleans Saints versus the Carolina Panthers. New Orleans coming off of, man, they got 3 division games to start the year. That sucks. Saints coming off of their weird loss against the Buccaneers, which, by the way, Jameis Winston playing with 4 fractures in his back and is in a lot of pain. That was the fucking tweet. That was the sleeper update. Was he is in a lot of pain but is going to play anyway. What the hell, New Orleans versus the Carolina Panthers play every game close but seem to lose by a field goal every time. Will they overcome New Orleans?
I think they will. Or no, they won't. Never mind.
Yeah.
No, they will not be able to. Like you mentioned, I feel like it feels weird to have the Panthers be one of the worst teams in the league right now, but it just kind of is what it is at this point. I just think the Saints, despite their kind of weird start that does not feel at all like what it should have been, I think that they still have the defense. They still have some really talented offensive players. I just have a little bit more faith in the Saints operation right now, so I'm gonna go with them.
I will also go with the Saints. I think Michael Thomas, Chris Olave, both excellent football players. Michael Thomas is back. What the hell?
He's back.
Yeah. And Panthers rule is on the hot seat. His seat is going to keep getting hotter. I'm going with the Saints.
100%. Next up, the Jaguars versus the Chargers. Of course, the Jags, sole possession of AFC South supremacy at the moment. The Chargers, not so much. But hey, they're 1-1. Lost to the Chiefs, which is nothing to be super ashamed of, but they're also in your division. Probably should have won that game. But regardless, now the Chargers take on this Jaguars teams that might be frisky, but what do you think is going to happen, Matt?
I worry about Herbert's injury, of course.
Mm-hmm.
And I think a little bit, sorry if you can hear my dog's
no worries.
Collar jangling. I worry a little bit about Herbert's injury. But I don't think it's enough for me not to pick the Chargers over the Jaguars.
Sure.
If Herbert doesn't play, it becomes a little bit more interesting to pick the Jags, but I still think the Chargers defense is good enough to put the Jaguars back in their place.
Yeah, I think the Chargers I think a lot of people are kind of still feeling like the Chargers are not quite at this point of like being this amazing team. And I get that. I think the Chiefs game should have been their moment, and unfortunately it just didn't work out for them. I just do still think that this team is super talented, and as much as I would love to see the Jaguars win this game and how chaotic that would be, I think that the Chargers are just in a better situation right now.
Yeah.
Like regardless of whether or not Herbert plays, even though I do think Herbert is such a huge factor, and obviously like if he plays, this should be a victory for them. If not, I don't think that it definitely hinders their chance. I don't think it's the end of the world either.
Cool.
So I'm going Chargers.
All right. Next up, the Los Angeles Rams, coming off of a close victory against the Falcons, take on the Arizona Cardinals, who had a comeback victory against the Raiders. This is a weird matchup because I don't know how good the Rams are going to be currently, and I don't know if the Cardinals, like, if that was a fluke or not.
It was definitely a weird one. I think I am happy to move to the Rams here, and pick them. Like I think I initially the Cardinals were going to be my chaos pick, but I'm just like I just still am not in love with their organization. I do think it was a little bit fluky how they bounced back in this game, but mainly because it was dire. Like through 6 quarters, it was a dire situation for the Cardinals, and things were looking really sketchy. It was just the second half that they really like something clicked for them finally, and they turned it on and won. But I still feel like the Rams should win this game. It's gonna be a close division game. Like these things, like you kind of throw out the records for them, but I have faith in the reigning Super Bowl champion.
Yeah, it's going to be dicey for both teams, but I think the Rams are going to pull it out in the end.
There you go. Next up, the Atlanta Falcons versus the Seattle Seahawks. Another one that's a little bit of a dud, but both of these teams have shown that they can be a little weird, and that's what we kind of like in a team. Just be weird. So which weirdo is going to win?
I think that the Seahawks had a lot of help with their first week against the Broncos, with just the weirdness of like Wilson being that. And I don't think that magic is gonna last a long time, even if they are home for this one. I'm gonna pick the Falcons because of their friskiness.
I'm 100% with you, my friend. I like what, weirdly, for a winless team, I kind of liked what I've seen from the Falcons as just this team that is going to be a little bit bent on causing some wild things to happen over the course of the season, even if they're not going to be very good at it.
That said, oh my God, throw the ball to Kyle Pitts.
Yeah,
Jesus Christ.
Yeah,
Jesus Christ.
This is the second. Yeah, that was the second week in a row where the top cornerback just completely shuts down, or just the secondary for the other team just completely shuts down Kyle Pitt. So yeah, this is a Seahawks defense that isn't amazing, and I think this feels like a Kyle Pitts breakout game. So I'm going Falcons.
I gotta hope, not just because he's like on my dynasty team, but also, or my fantasy team, but also, you know, that he's the fucking highest drafted tight end in NFL history.
Right.
Do something.
Yep. Absolutely.
Green Bay Packers versus the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Battle of the Bays. I think both of these quarterbacks, not at their strongest points, but still played well enough to get their teams to victories. Well, one victory for the Packers. Who do you think is going to win between TB and AR?
I like the Bucs defense. In general, I like that team. I definitely am seeing some issues with the offense thus far with the Bucs, but I don't know. I feel like this team is deserving of at least another victory, and I just don't really want to give Aaron Rodgers that satisfaction, so I'm going with the Bucks here.
No, it's very rare that Brady and Rodgers play, and the Bucks defense is really good. Rodgers got his ass handed to him last week, and I don't think they're going to be able to run on the Buccaneers like they ran on the Bears. So, let's go Tampa Bay.
There you go. All right. Sunday Night Football, the 49ers at the Broncos. Interesting matchup. Obviously, you have, there's some building pressure on the Broncos right now. Like, yeah, they're 1-1, but I know I was, I'm joking earlier about how 1-1 teams, you're not interesting. This is an interesting team because their coaching has been terrible, and it's been kind of historically terrible in terms of decision making. So it's gonna be one to watch, and then you have the other team that now is entering this game knowing that Trey Lance is no longer in the picture and Jimmy G is here. So this is just a game for the very interesting storylines of this season. So what do you think is going to happen?
I don't think the Broncos are going to be able to coach themselves well, and Kyle Shanahan is a great coach, and Jimmy G has led this team to victories plenty of times in the past. The 49ers are a very easy pick for me here. I need to see good decisions from the Broncos before I feel comfortable picking them again.
Yeah, I'm going 49ers. This was my other guarantee that I had in mind. I was like, I kind of want to guarantee the 49ers because I'm just not feeling it with the Broncos. But I guess that just shows you my faith in the Texans just being rubbish to keep my guarantee on the Bears.
God, I hope.
Plus, I think it's a fun podcasting thing just to have the Bears as a guarantee going into a week.
You can weaponize the Bears so hard against me. It's hilarious. Because you'll get the content.
But am I wrong though?
You're not wrong. No, believe me, I will deliver it. But you know how to get it out of me.
But listen, this is when we have teams we're passionate about, either in loving them or hating them or ambivalence or whatever. Like it makes for a better scene, I think, overall, just to be like, hey, we have feelings about this team. We're gonna have a chance to express that. Speaking of having feelings for a team.
Yes. Dallas Cowboys, New York Giants, taking us into Monday Night Football. Giants are 2-0. Dallas, they don't have Dak, but they do have Cooper Rush, and they did beat the Bengals last week. Will they be able to replicate that against the Giants?
Giants are a 2.5 favorite, and I'm annoyed because I wish it was 3 points and I could get Team Chaos the Cowboys. Look, I look at the Giants, and I feel like I would love, oh my god, would it be amazing if they were 3-0. I know 3-0 doesn't really mean much. Look at, like, circa, Panthers and Broncos of last year. Like, 3-0 can only mean so much, but it would just be nice just to see that for once. And it's possible. I am not in any way want to bury the Giants here, but it's just the pessimistic fan in me is just looking at the Cowboys, and I'm like, they kind of have some things working for them even without Dak. It's not looking amazing for the Cowboys, but I just like their talent to beat this Giants team, so I'm going Cowboys.
I'm going to defer.
Oh, hell yeah.
Giants.
Yes! Someone has faith.
I mean, they've looked pretty good. Talk about good coaching. Brian Daboll is a good coach. Yep. Minus the, like, weird shit going on with Kadarius Toney right now. But that's like Tony's whole career through 2 seasons. So as long as the Giants, I think, have a footing, they use Saquon effectively, then they'll be okay. And I think the Giants defense will also be good enough, just with how the Cowboys offensive line and just offensive woes right now are not the best.
Right. Yeah. 100%. Yeah, this is a sneaky good game for this week. I'm not like, and I'm usually not a fan of Cowboys Giants. Like I'm not.
Yeah.
I've been the banging the drum of like, oh my god, this is, we don't need this constantly aired on national television
on primetime.
But hey, it's frisky, and I think anything could happen. And I appreciate you for standing behind my team. Well, it's kind of worked out again, where like a lot of the deferments worked, where I picked a certain way, but then you picked the team that I want to see win. Yeah. So it's like I have this like strong faith of like wanting a certain wanting the team I picked to win. I'm just like, oh well, whatever, it's fine. But yeah, four disagreements there. So that is the Thursday Night Football game. The Steelers and Starfish we've deferred on. I team Chaos the Steelers. Then there's the Raiders Titans, which is just a straight up disagreement. You have the Raiders, I have Titans. Then there's the Lions Vikings game. You team Chaos the Lions, I picked the Vikings. And then finally the Giants Cowboys game. That was just a straight up deferment. Cowboys I picked, you picked Giants. And then guarantees Bears for me, Bills for you, to recap the picks. So there we go. Good stuff. All right. So next week we are reaching. It's weirdly not the quarter point of the season anymore, I don't think, because of the 18-week thing. It's close though. I think after week 4, I would love to bury some teams, which is always a fun segment. So what I'm basically saying is I have no idea what segment we'll do next week, but I'll figure it out as we go along. It's been like I said, it's been a weird week, and so it's been hard to get a lot of things planned out for this. But I'm glad that we got the chance to sit down and talk some football for going into week 3. But yeah, cool stuff. I have nothing else to add. Matt, is there anything out there in the world that you want to talk about before we end?
Play Final Fantasy 14. My forever obsession.
Do you have to do the? I think the thing is, if you recommend Final Fantasy 14, you have
with the free trial that includes the entirety of Realm Reborn and Heavensward up to level 60 with no restrictions on playtime.
There you go.
Free trial.
Yeah.
Free trial.
It's free trial.
Free. Unless you want to be a Hrothgar.
Oh,
I did not do the free trial.
Interesting. But there you go. That play one of the greatest MMOs, if not the greatest MMO ever.
Oh,
made.
And Survivor tomorrow.
I know, man. There's so much happening. It's stupid. This is so stupid. I hate life right now. It's too much happening. No, I don't really mean that. It's just there's just a lot going on.
Yeah.
But anyways, thank you all so much for listening, and we will see you next week.
Good night and good ball. Virtual Ball Boys has been brought to you by Team Chaos Productions. Find us on Twitter at Virtual Ball Boys and find more of our work at Team Chaos Pods.